and welcome to Girl Ascending. My name is Sadie and I'm here to talk to you today about the lunar cycles, and we're going to kick things off by talking about the dark moon and the new moon. So when most people think about the start of the lunar cycle, starting their lunar practices, most people choose to start with the new moon. However, it's really important to keep in mind the space and the place of the dark moon as well. So the dark moon is barely visible to us in the sky and occurs when the waning moon gives way almost to the new moon, but the sun and moon are not quite in alignment for it to be considered the new moon. And the dark moon is really a void space that we can use, and it's very powerful because when you think about dark, it can kind of have a negative connotation, but actually when we think of all that dark space, what it's actually bringing us is the space to expel and to release and to get rid of anything negative, anything toxic that is holding us back or that we want to process, or even if we want to take a moment to do some shadow work, this is a great space to do it. And if you think about yoga or about Buddhism, about breath work, there is the monk's breath, the 5-5-5-5 breath. So you're breathing in for 5, holding for 5, breathing out for 5, and then for 5 counts, nothing. And this nothingness is the energy that we are really looking for from the dark moon. So then the dark moon is giving way now to the new moon, and we're starting to get a little bit of light coming into the cycle again. So this means that we're moving from a totally period of darkness into some lightness. And although it's not very much light, we're still moving forwards. And when we're coming into this lighter period, we want to really see it as a new start, a fresh beginning, which is the whole point of the new moon's energy, is to give us that fresh start. And the moon cycle is roughly about 27.5 days month on month, and it's known as a synodic month, so it sort of mirrors our Romanic calendar month, where we've normally got 31 days, obviously February the exception, but it is that little bit shorter. So although it is a fresh start and a new beginning, which is wonderful that we get to have this so frequently, every sort of 3.5-4 weeks, it's really important when we're setting our intentions for the new moon that we keep in mind that we cannot go crazy. You know, you're not going to be able to achieve huge goals straight away in 1 month, unless obviously you're very, very lucky. But what we're looking for really is to use this as that jumping off point to think about big goals, but also smaller ones as well. So when we're going into the new moon energy, we want to think about maybe one big goal that we're going to use it as a stepping stone to work towards, or maybe we want to have 1 or 2 smaller goals. So what these can mean, whatever they want to for you. Obviously success means different things to different people, which is correct, as it should, but the moon's energy and moon work is very private. You know, you don't have to share it with other people if you don't want to. No one else has to know. It is just between you and with the moon, which I think is one of the most beautiful parts of the practice, really, because it means that your connection to the moon is your own. It's just between you and the moon. Wherever you are in the world, you have that connection. And it also means that you are tied universally to all other creatures as well, human beings, animals, plants, all living creatures. We all get to share that moon's energy, but it doesn't mean that you have to do it in any kind of public way. So, kicking things off with the new moon. So some of my favourite ways to connect with the new moon is to create a vision board. I have a couple behind me, probably can't see my big one. So I have one big main one, which is a clipboard one with little clippies on. And why I favour doing that, certainly for big goals, is it means that you can put lots of different goals up there, and then as you achieve them, you can take them off. But equally, if you go through the lunar cycle, and this is something we'll touch on later, but if you realise that your initial goals, your new moon goals, aren't really aligning with what you want, this can be for a number of different reasons. Maybe you were influenced by parents or peers, or even just society at large, social media. Sometimes we think that we want something, and then as we're going on that journey to get it, we come to a crossroads and think, oh, actually I'm not really sure that is what I'm looking for. So when we want to make our vision board, we want to leave ourselves that space that actually maybe it might not end up being what we want, but we also want to leave the space that yes, it is what we want and we've achieved it, and now we want to leave that space to move on to something else. But you can also I have another little smaller vision board up here, which is just little cutouts from magazines, and these are all holiday places, travel places, and that can be really useful as well if you've got a smaller goal, a place that you really want to go to, or I'm not sure, a car or something that you really want to buy. Having a smaller specific vision board for that can be really handy as well. But when we're thinking about this starting off point, this jumping off point, we want to remember that it's not just about anything external, vision boards, affirmations, these words that we talk about a lot. We also want to acknowledge that we ourselves are the vision board, the physical blank page, and that we can use ourselves to co-create with the universe and bring what we want from the mental realm into the physical realm. Because if you think about the word emotion, it's motion, isn't it? So what we think, we are creating. Thoughts become things. So what we want to do is we want to constantly be thinking as well in that mindset of, what do I want? How am I going to get there? What is it going to feel like? Because our brains and our bodies don't actually know the difference between something that is happening in the moment and something that is just imagined. So this is why it's so important when doing lunar cycle work in particular to have those parts of the cycle where you really can do a negativity dump, a toxic dump, if you will, because when we're experiencing a negative emotion, a lot of us, maybe for something that's happened in the past that maybe gives rise to wanting to get revenge on someone in, however small or big way, what we're actually doing is hurting ourselves, because by going through those negative thoughts, we're reliving it again, and our body is having to relive it. So it's actually a form of self-harm. So we really want to steer away from that at all costs. Obviously, it isn't always possible, and it is a process. But equally as well, thinking negativity of the future, we want to try and not do that as well, because either it will happen or it won't happen. And if it doesn't happen, why put yourself through it? And if it does happen, well, then you can deal with it in the moment. So that is why it's really important to get rid of negativity, going off on a little tangent there. But what you feel is so important in terms of what you're then going to project out into the universe. Because with the start of the new moon, we're obviously planning, we're preparing, we're anticipating, it's really exciting. But at the same time, we don't want to go into areas of perfectionism or of control, because the universe is always supporting us, always working in our favour. A rejection is not a rejection, it is a redirection. It means that was not for you because something else, something better is. So we're always trying to move forward with that forward motion of the lunar cycle, and we're always trying to think what we want, but at the same time we're not trying to be so prescriptive, so specific that we're blocking ourselves off from seeing great opportunities or great new friendships or great new partners. We don't want to be too, I kind of think of it as a bit of a Virgo energy, maybe too perfectionist in our new moon intentions. But this is a really wonderful time of the lunar cycle, that jumping off point, that starting off point, where we are moving forward, we are actively choosing how we want to start off the lunar month. So obviously if you've been working with the moon phases for a while, you kind of get into the swing of it, into the rhythm. If you've ever seen a lunar calendar, either online or maybe you've got one in your home, whatever, you can kind of see that the cycle itself makes a kind of a wave design. So once you kind of get into the swing of it, you feel sort of the buffeting different motions of each phase, and you can kind of understand that, kind of internalize it a bit more. But when you're first starting out, it can feel a bit strange and a bit weird, and it can feel an uncomfortable sense of change. And also you know, when we really want something, we're kind of leaving ourselves open and vulnerable to the possibility that we might not get it. And that can feel a bit nerve-wracking to start with. But I would really encourage you to give it a go, just for a month, 2 months, just really try and observe the lunar cycle and see it not as a way to confine yourself or to check up on yourself, but just to check in with yourself, to connect with yourself and to the world around you, and to remind yourself that we all are part of something bigger. You know, our ancestors, ancient mariners, philosophers would all look to the moon for guidance and for self-care as well. And in our, you know, very crazy, hectic modern world, that is what the moon and the lunar cycle gives us the opportunity to do, to really have that period of greater connection. So I hope you will join me in further videos to learn more about the lunar cycle, as well as other divination practices as well, looking at tarot and other types of witchcraft as well. So thank you very much. If you enjoyed this video, please comment below. And if you would like to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button. Okay, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye!